What's going on, guys, and welcome to my review of Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, the latest film directed by Tim Burton and the very long-awaited sequel to the 1988 film. This is something that I've been looking forward to for quite some time now. I know I say that about just about every film that I review, but I'm a movie lover. What can I say? But this is something that I've been looking forward to for a while, and this is also something that's been discussed, heavily discussed, for quite some time. There was one point to where they were discussing a sequel shortly after the release of the original, and it was going to be in a Hawaiian setting, but that got scrapped, and 30 plus years later we get this. We get Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. So essentially in the film, you have Winona Ryder, who returns as Lydia Deetz, to where she has a daughter now, an Alfred Deetz, and gets sent to the afterlife, which forces Lydia Deetz into teaming up with Beetlejuice to get her back. All the while trying to escape Beetlejuice's crazy ex from coming after him. So yes, I definitely was looking forward to this. Ever since the first trailer showed up, I perked right up. I was smiling ear to ear. That overwhelming, joyful feeling came over me. And I just started thinking to myself, yes, we are finally getting another one. The original is something that I hold near and dear to my heart. It's one of those cult classics. And it's something that I've grown up with. I mean, who didn't grow up with this film? Especially if you're in my age group as a kid and just watching it constantly. I remember playing the VHS back to back a lot. I think this is the first film that introduced me to Michael Keaton. And I've always admired that film's practical effects and astonishing visuals and colorful characters. I know that was in the heyday, in the very earliest days of Tim Burton's career. That was when he was establishing his touch, that goth-like sense and that goth-like feel that he always does with his films, that he's established himself as the man that gives you the goth-like touch. There's nothing short of that here. So yes, I was very excited, and walking out of this, I gotta say, pretty good. Starting off the positives for Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, I do gotta say, again, going back to that goth-like feel, it doesn't feel any different here than in that original film. It feels very goth-like. It feels very chill. It just brings that sense of uniqueness to it that doesn't get lost here at all. I liked the atmosphere. I liked the tone of this film. I liked what he brought out. It's just that very dark, goth-like sense. And I really did appreciate that. That's what made that original film stand out so much. 36 years later, there's nothing short of that. Beetlejuice Beetlejuice still holds that very goth-like, unique sense about it that I really did enjoy. This film is set around Halloween time. It's set within a 2-day period leading up to the season of the witch, and I really did appreciate that. And most movies that come out that revolve around that time of year doesn't really feel like it's a Halloween film. But here, it actually gives you a lot more of a sense of the time of the season that it's in. That spooky season vibe to where you could easily turn this movie on anytime during that time of the period and it would fit perfectly, like at a Halloween party or a Halloween dance or just whatever you decide to do, or a Halloween wedding, to each his own. This film is the perfect background for that, and I enjoyed the whole Halloween vibe that this film gave out. It does a great job at capturing the Halloween essence and the Halloween season and just that feel and the whole goblins, ghosts, and witches, oh my feeling. Michael Keaton hadn't missed a beat. 36 years later, he just slips right into that role. He just hadn't missed a single beat of that character. He is in this one a lot more than what he was in the original, so that was a definite treat. There's moments in this film to where I laughed so hard that I couldn't even keep my water in. He really brought out that nostalgic feel for me, but it was so much to the point to where it wasn't overblown, that it was just something else that I deeply appreciated. But Michael Keaton, he definitely nailed that role. All these years later, he still nailed that role just down to a T. That makeup that he has on, he looked so awesome, and he still had that goofy persona about him, and that goofy goth-like demonic presence about him that just made the first one stand out so much, and that just made him pop. And again, he just hadn't missed a beat of that character.
How do I know that you're gonna keep your word?
I swear on my dead mother's soul. Yes.
This is really what shocked me the most about this movie, because everybody knows who's been following me on how much comedy has been dead. But the comedy in this was actually pretty decent. The jokes actually landed. Not to the point of where I busted a gut, unless it was Michael Keaton doing his Beetlejuice thing. But it was actually quite entertaining in that portion of the film. Mostly from Catherine O'Hara. When Beetlejuice wasn't doing his thing, Catherine O'Hara was like his backup for the jokes and the comedic tone of the film. And it actually quite surprised me, because I didn't really think that a lot of the jokes would land. Some of them didn't, but that doesn't push me enough to push it in the mixture of the negatives, because most of the time I did find myself like giggling for the most part. Again, that was a total shock for me. That was a total surprise, and something that I 100% appreciated. I hardly ever get to say that about any movie anymore, but this one actually hit that funny bone enough for me to merit a positive view of this. And I really did appreciate that. I really did. Plus, you got the score here, especially the way it opens up. It brought that, now again, going back to that nostalgic feel, and it just brought all that back. Just that score that Danny Elfman did in the first one, who also scored this one. And it just brought all that back up. And that's another thing. I really did appreciate that the nostalgic factor wasn't too much. It wasn't one of those movies that to where, like, every time they do a legacy sequel or just a sequel in general to something that came out 30 plus years ago, they usually feel the need to overstuff it with the nostalgic, almost to the point of it being cheesy. Here, wasn't really like that. It actually was in a fair place to how they handled all the nostalgic moments, and like with just all the characters, and especially with the score I just mentioned, it actually was pretty decent, and I thought they handled that pretty well. I thought they handled it with the perfect care that you would want in a film like this. Again, it didn't feel cheesy, it didn't feel overblown, it was just perfect. I even liked what they did with Jenna Ortega's character. She's an actress that I've seen pop up a lot here lately, ever since the last two Scream movies. Now she's in this Wednesday show. And for Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, she plays the estranged daughter of Winona Ryder's character, to where something tragic happened to her involving a family member, which shows throughout this film. And I think Jenna Ortega played it pretty well. She plays this rebellious teen and has a lot of resentment towards her mother, and it kind of creates this strained relationship between the two. And I thought that added a nice zest to this film, to the storyline itself. And I thought it made you kind of sympathize for this character of what she's going through. And I thought Jenna Ortega did a really good job, and a really nice job at that. She's one of those actresses that has not disappointed me yet. And I thought she did a really good job in this film. Moving on to my mixed, and this is just a very small mixed, there was some issues involving dialogue from Michael Keaton's character in the first act, to where he would mumble a lot with that deep growl that he gives for the character of Beetlejuice. Plus, he's a little older now, so that added on to it. Half the time, it just sounded like he was mumbling everything. As much of a commitment I thought he brought to this character, I felt like the dialogue in just the first act was just a little muffled, almost to the point to where I was like, huh? But luckily, as the film proceeds, after that first bit of the first act, it gets better. You can start hearing them a little bit better, especially by the end of the first act, so that doesn't last, so thank God. It's just that first bit of the first act, you just couldn't hardly hear him, and I just wanted to scream at the screen sometimes saying, dude, speak up, can't hear you. But luckily, as I said, it doesn't last but a footnote. Moving on to my negatives, I felt like this film was too overstuffed, too overblown. They tried cramming so much information, so much plot points into one film at one time that it just felt bloated. Starting off with the very minor one, I didn't feel like Ryder and Justin Theroux's character and Lydia and Rory's relationship had a place in this at all. This was one of the first of many plot wasters, pretty much, that I felt like the chemistry and just the relationship and all just had no place whatsoever. in this film. I just felt like it was a waste of runtime. I didn't even see any potential there. I didn't even see the point of it being here. I felt like it was a waste, and I felt like it was an excuse to fill the void of a shorter runtime. Not that this film is long by any stretch, but Lord forbid we can't have a short film nowadays. That's just not how it's done. We need to go big. We need to go grand. Again, I'm not saying that this film is nowhere near 2 hours or anything, but there's a bunch of things that this film could have done without completely. But it's like, yeah, we need to make these movies longer and fill them with useless gaps and useless plot points. I didn't like what they did with Winona Ryder's character. In this film, dumb as a rock. She makes the most dumbest decisions throughout this whole entire film. There's a segment in the middle of the film where she does something that's just completely off the chain, off the wall, dumb. And it's like, why? Why are you being like this? I just don't understand that. She really infuriated me, and it really disappointed me because that was actually one of the characters I liked in the first one. Yes, she was younger in the first one. She was a teen. She's older now, but yeah. Wisdom definitely did not come with that, with this character. Why did they have to go the direction they did with her? I'll never know. And as awesome as Willem Dafoe is, as awesome as an actor I think he is, why? Just why the hell was this character even in this movie at all? What was his purpose? He basically plays a cop in the afterlife who was an actor in life, goes around solving cases. It kind of started feeling like a supernatural cop type film at some point. But the whole time he showed up, I just kept on thinking, why is this guy here? Just tell me, why? Just why? Again, I love you, Willem Dafoe. Green Goblin forever, but you just had no place in this film, dude. Almost to the point, well, exactly to the point to where if you cut this character out completely, it wouldn't have affected the film at all. It would have been just fine. Just completely useless character, just another one of those plot wasters. The villain and Monica Bellucci, who basically plays Beetlejuice's ex, I didn't think she was that good. I didn't think her character matched the tone of what this film was. Now, as much as I thought she was awesome when she did show up, and I liked the whole Bride of Frankenstein look, only without the frizzy top hat hair, but I just don't think the essence of what this character could have been was at all what it should have been. Almost to the point where I felt a little clickbaited. When she first shows up, when she gets introduced, it was an awesome introduction. To the point where I was thinking to myself, as soon as that scene started, I started thinking to myself, okay, this is pretty interesting. I'd love to see what more this character has in store for us. Nothing. Turns out nothing. She basically just shows up here and there, sucks a soul here and there, and basically screams out, "Where's Beetlejuice? Where's my ex?" She plays the role as best as she can. She's an actress that has not disappointed me yet. She'll show up on my radar here and there, on and off. But she just wasn't given enough for Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. And it really infuriated me. It really disappointed me because she had great potential. She just wasn't in it enough. And it pains me to say this because as awesome as she was on screen, I just wish she would have had more to do. To the point to where if you'd have cut her out and that whole plot point with Beetlejuice and her past, just save that for the next film if this grosses enough, which I'm already seeing indications that it's going to be a hit. I don't know if it's going to be to the level of the studio of what they're expecting it to be, but it's already showing promise. They could have left all that stuff out along with, well, the whole Lydia and Rory character relationship thing, completely tossed that out. The heck with that. But that whole plot point with the villain and Beetlejuice, with Monica Bellucci and Beetlejuice, they could have just saved all that for the next film, and this film still would have been fine. It could have just focused on the plot point at hand, to where you just focus on the kidnapped daughter, on Jenna Ortega's character, and Lydia teaming up with Beetlejuice to rescue her. And it would have made Beetlejuice the main villain of the film, because he would want something in return. He would want something as a quid pro quo. And that would have made it just as effective as anything. It would have been more of the same tone as the first one was, to be honest, and because of that, it wouldn't have been as overstuffed and overblown. It could have been just simple and just straight to the point. It would have made it more interesting and just simple. Exactly how the original one was. Despite all that, I know I sounded passionate enough in the negatives there, but despite all that, despite my problems I had with this, I still had a fun time. For the most part, it clicked with me. It wasn't the worst I've seen. It still clicked with me. I just couldn't get past those problems. But I still had fun with it. It's not like I'm never going to watch it again. It's not like I'm not going to buy it on 4K disc when it comes out. I still had fun with it. If you like the original Beetlejuice, you'll definitely like this one. There's some nostalgic moments to be had. There's some exciting moments to be had for this one, especially if you like that original. But if you're expecting it to be at the level of that original, especially if you were a straight up 110% fan of that, don't quite get your hopes up. But in the end, it's still pretty fun. It's still pretty entertaining. Just give it a chance. So Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. Were you one of those that was actually excited for this? Were you one of those that was jumping for joy and looking forward to seeing Beetlejuice in action again? Did you find a lot of entertainment value for this? Or were you one of those that values the first one more? Are you somebody that thinks that this one shouldn't have been made at all? Leave me a comment down below and give me your thoughts. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this. I really do appreciate it. Like, subscribe, comment, and share. Make sure to click that bell icon so you don't miss a thing. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.